So today we're going to be adding in some pen work to our finished Imagined Architecture project, and I'm going to demonstrate this for you on just this little practice sample that I showed you on how to draw circular windows and archways and staircases. What we're going to do today is use a pen to basically go back through and very neatly outline all of our design. Now, if you have an ultra fine point Sharpie, that's what I would like for you to use today. These are great because they are a permanent marker and they have a very, very fine detailed tip that will work great for this. But if you don't have an ultra fine point Sharpie, I want to show you some other options that you can use as well. So if you don't have an ultra fine point Sharpie, you can use just a regular, really inexpensive pen like this. This is a Papermate or a Bic, sort of a click style pen. These can work as well. They give a very nice fine line, and they're not very likely to smudge because the ink with that little roller ball tip is dries really quickly. So a really inexpensive pen like that can work as an alternative, or you can use a more sort of a liquid-based roller ball pen, kind of like this Pilot pen, and it works as well. It gives a really nice, fine, delicate line, but you do have to wait until that ink dries because it's a little bit more likely to smudge because it has more of a liquid-based ink. But either one of those are good options in case you don't have an ultra fine point Sharpie. My Sharpie is sort of running out of ink, so I am going to switch it out and use a different pen today. Another option that you can use is if you have any other sort of alternative ultra fine point marker. This is an Arteza, a 0.4 size tip that I can use. It is not permanent like a Sharpie, but it also gives a really nice, smooth, thin, flowing line. It may smudge a little bit. I may have to wait for it to dry, but that can work as well. So any black pen that is very, very thin or fine point. Make sure that you don't use something like a fine point Sharpie because it is way too bold of a line, and you're going to sort of lose all of your details with a mark that's that wide. So make sure it's a regular pen or an ultra fine point Sharpie. To show you how to get started today, what you'll need is your pen that you're going to use, and you will want to have a ruler because we're going to go back over all of our lines using the ruler. Don't free draw any of your lines. Make sure you have your ruler. So what I like to do is start with lines that are all going in the same direction just because it makes my life a little bit easier. So I may start with the left vanishing point, and I always line everything back up with my vanishing point and line it back up with my object, and pay really close attention to where that line starts and stops to get that nice, clean, crisp line. It's really easy to go past and then make a mistake, and then you've extended that box too far. But that's what you're sort of looking for. Now, you do want to be really careful that you don't slide your ruler away from your pen, especially if you have a pen that has a more liquid-based ink that can smudge, because sometimes the edge of the ruler can pull that ink away and smudge it. A better option is to wait just a second and lift your ruler up and then rotate it. And that's going to make it less likely that you will end up with smudges. So just a few quick helpful tips. And what I like to do is complete all of the lines that go to that vanishing point. I'm just going to start at the top and work my way down and kind of rotate. That sort of makes it nice and easy. I can sort of follow along. And just notice each time I'm lifting my ruler up from the edge, from this end, lifting it up and then rotating it down. And just for this, we want really, really nice, clean, sharp, precise lines. Now, once you get finished outlining everything, take a very careful sort of walk through and double check that you've correctly outlined everything that you need and that you haven't missed any lines. Now I do like to give this a second or two to totally dry to make sure I'm not going to accidentally smear my ink. But once it is totally dry, I'm going to take my eraser and go over top of this whole drawing and make sure that all of my pencil lines are gone, and I remove it to where it is now just my outline of everything in pen. Now when you're doing this, be very careful, especially when you get close to the edges of the paper. It's really easy to pull too hard and then scrunch up your whole paper and get a bunch of wrinkles in it. So whenever you get close to an edge, I like to hold where I'm holding on both sides with 2 fingers and then really gently erase in between. That way I don't accidentally end up damaging my paper. And then once you've completed that, this is going to be ready for us to move on to our next step tomorrow.